looked into trends each week for months, and I have purchased many interior design books that we're gonna flip through to really provide the visuals of each style and give you examples so that you can have an idea of where your heart is leaning towards when it comes to cottage style. Do you dream of rustic elegance with just the right amount of faded romance? Then French country cottage style might be the look you've been looking for. Rooted in Provence countryside, this style blends weathered charm with a collected, practical beauty. It's cozy but not cluttered, charming but never fussy. While it shares softness with cottagecore and romance with French cottage, French country cottage stands apart with its practical roots, utilitarian grace, and that unmistakable worn-in charm. So let's talk color. French country cottage embraces a wide range of tones. You'll find dusty pastels like faded rose and pale sage, layered alongside chalky neutrals like cream, off-white, and soft gray. This style blends rustic refinement with romantic charm, grounding its aesthetic in history, nature, and the beauty of imperfection. French country cottage is warm and soulful, with layers of distressed finishes, patina-rich antiques, and charming old-world touches that make a space feel both lived in and loved. Unlike the more polished and romantic French cottage style that we're going to go into next, French country cottage is rooted in rural simplicity. So think antiques from on the tables, open shelving, vintage copper, linens with striped patterns, collected over time in a very personal way. The look is more rustic, lived in, yet traditional, with a hint of romance. Soft and sun-faded is the name of the game here. Think creamy whites, linen, pale sage, paired with chalky neutrals and traditional terracotta, mustard yellow, and deep red. There's a subtle nod to shabby chic here, but it is restrained with traditional undertones. Details like stone floors, farmhouse sinks, open shelves with ironstone, and lace-trimmed linens brings depth and authenticity to the space. Furnishings can be mismatched, but they always feel purposeful and storied. Dried herbs, oil paintings, and simple pottery add the final touch of country warmth. In the French country cottage living room, you'll often find slip-covered sofas, antique side tables, and perhaps a collection of vintage landscape paintings in gold or natural wood frames. Layer in textured curtains, a gorgeous vintage large hanging tapestry, a weathered rug, and a few painted candle holders, and you've got a room that feels time-worn in the best way. And in the French country cottage kitchen, you will see open shelves lined with stoneware, copper pots hanging from a rack, and collections of vintage linens. Cabinets are often painted in muted sage, cream, or dusty blue, with hardware that feels charmingly old world. Think utility meets beauty, like an antique breadboard resting against the backsplash, a vintage oil painting in your kitchen itself, antique hardware, a collection of loved rolling pins all stacked together. All of these are ways that you can bring in that rustic French country cottage feel to any space. For a French country cottage bedroom, think soft linens, delicate patterns, and time-worn finishes. Add a vintage iron or whitewashed wood headboard, pair perfectly with layered throws and lace-trimmed pillowcases. Add a couple of oil paintings or a few prints of your favorite artworks, a picture of fresh flowers, and you will instantly feel transported in a Provence bedroom. Now for one of my personal favorites. If your heart beats faster for elegance, romance, and a touch of Versailles, you might be more drawn to French cottage style. A look that blends vintage femininity with refined opulence. Unlike French country cottage, which is rustic and rooted in farmhouse practicality, French cottage leans more into a refined look, often borrowing from Edwardian and Rococo influences. So think Bridgerton meets countryside chateau. A style that loves its gilded mirrors, satin drapery, gilded golds, and porcelain details. What defines French cottage? It begins with the palette. Dusty rose, powder blue, pale green, soft ivory, and gentle lavender. These pastels create a light and feminine foundation that feels airy and elegant. Where French country cottage might give you more terracotta and sage and traditional reds, French cottage leans more into lace, toile, satin, and pastels. Think faded, romantic colors. Crystal knobs, romantic lighting, and soft textiles layered on top of one another really create that dreamlike feel. And to me, that's what French cottage style is all about. I like to think if Marie Antoinette knew what shabby chic was, it's a blend between her style and lovely Rachel Ashwell's shabby chic. And that's what I'm seeing as most reflective for French cottage style right now. French cottage living room. Envision a tuft settee in a pastel tone, vintage floral artwork in gilded oval frames, lots of elegant mirrors, soft drapery catching the light, and furniture maybe painted cream, blush, antique side tables. Add a crystal chandelier, and you can do this and should do this for every room if you want French cottage look, or you can settle for a candelabra or have both, which will make it that much more elegant, dreamy, and romantic. For the French cottage kitchen, elegance and charm go hand in hand. A porcelain tea set, floral dishes stacked inside a glass cabinet or displayed hanging up on the walls. You might see traditional toile wallpaper or curtains, which instantly give the backdrop a storybook appeal. French cottage bedrooms. Think of bringing in inspiration from Versailles, anything ornate and fit for a queen. So think a fabric tuft headboard or a canopy bed with luxurious fabric, gilded gold accents wherever you can, especially on a mirror. Having a vanity is key, and just displaying delicate feminine accents like a vintage tray with vintage perfume bottles. It just adds an element of personalness. It makes you just feel that much more comfortable and cozy in a space that is so precious like your bedroom. And take care with the bedding for any of the French styles. The French are known for taking pride in their linens and fabrics, and especially showing that through their bedding. I saw that firsthand when I stayed at the Palace of Versailles in the most luxurious room that I've ever seen in my whole life. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already seen that video. It was magical. Really, you want to make it feel like you are living in a luxurious, elegant painting, and that you're waking up to a dream every morning. Heavy, beautiful tassels tying your curtains back is a lovely, elegant touch, as well as adding any of these little wood cutouts, painting them gold. That's what I did to really accentuate all of my gilded gold accents throughout my bedroom. The goal here is to make everything feel elegant, layered, and romantic. Are you drawn to homes that feel cozy, layered, and completely lived in? Then English cottage style might be exactly what your heart's been searching for. Rooted in traditional English country homes, its look is known for its warm, collected feel. Like every piece tells a story. Unlike more minimalist cottage styles, English cottage interiors embrace richness in color, texture, and history. It's the ultimate blend of cozy charm and curated imperfection. Let's talk about what sets English cottage apart from French cottage styles. This style leans heavily on mixed patterns, so think floral, chintz, ticking stripes, and vintage plaid, all layered together with confidence. Wallpaper is a must, especially in warm florals or traditional motifs. You'll often see antique furniture mixed with wood finishes and details like ornate moldings that make the home feel both collected and lived in. In the English cottage living room, it's all about layering. Soft textiles, vintage books, classic upholstery, and full tailored curtains. Think built-in bookshelves filled with time-worn novels, brass floor lamps, and a fireplace framed by a gallery wall in mixed wood frames. The palette leans warm and inviting. Earthy greens like sage and emerald, dusty rose, mustard yellow, deep blues, and burgundy, all softened with cozy neutrals. And of course, no English cottage is complete without a few equestrian or dog-themed accents, whether in art, ceramics, or charming little knickknacks. In the English cottage kitchen, it's all about open shelving filled with stacked teacups, hanging copper pots, and of course, plates hanging on the walls. A mix of painted cabinetry and exposed wood accents keeps it feeling personal, yet traditional, yet rustic. Many English cottages also feature freestanding furniture like a butcher block island or a skirted farmhouse sink, and don't forget a bit of botanical art or a classic herb drying rack. Display your blue and white china collection in a lovely vintage hutch or on the walls themselves. Those little touches make it feel authentic, rustic, and traditional. English cottage style bedrooms are timeless yet romantic. Think layering quilts in different patterns, surrounding yourself with oil paintings to make it seem like you are in an art gallery, having vintage books stacked throughout. Think vintage bed frames or maybe a bold pattern fabric headboard. Add a botanical print or some favorite portraits. Wallpaper is key here as well, especially wainscoting. That is a really easy way to give off this effect. Really anything that kind of gives you that library, cozy, lived-in feel. You can create a cute little reading nook in your bedroom, having a chair to read a book on a whim, and having a floor lamp right alongside for easy light. Think warm lighting as well, anything that makes you feel cozy and like you're in an English cottage. Why people love English cottage design. It offers that rare blend of coziness and character. It's nostalgic but not stuffy, elegant but never overly polished, and best of all, it makes space for your collections, books, family treasures, and your personality. Have you ever dreamed of living in a storybook cottage surrounded by dried herbs, books, and hand-picked wildflowers? Then Cottagecore style might be your perfect match. This rustic and romantic aesthetic celebrates nostalgia, simplicity, and the charm of everyday living. Think old-world countryside meets handmade, whimsical beauty. Unlike other cottage styles, Cottagecore leans less into elegance or polish and more into authentic, thrifted treasures, anything lived in, cozy with a story, and a deep love for tradition and storytelling. The color palette is inspired by nature: mossy greens, soft creams, wheat tones, and muted clays. Everything feels rooted in the earth. You'll find lots of dried herbs hanging in the kitchens, vintage cookbooks on open shelves, woven baskets, and time-worn textiles like patchwork quilts or lace-edged pillowcases. This style romanticizes the simple life, where a vintage teacup and a loaf of fresh bread feel just as luxurious as gilded decor. Most cottagecore interiors are filled with personal touches, mismatched finds from flea markets, and decor that tells a story. Cottagecore living rooms feel like a sanctuary filled with vintage lace, weathered wood furniture, and shelves lined with favorite novels or family heirlooms. Add a foraged floral arrangement, a few candle holders, and a cozy armchair draped in handmade afghans for instant storybook vibes. The Cottagecore kitchen is warm and utilitarian. Think skirted sinks, open shelving, and stacks of well-loved dishes. Herbs like rosemary and lavender might be drying near the window, while a thrifted copper pan hangs proudly on the wall. There's always something baking, something brewing, and a sense of magic in the air. Look for stoneware, enamel pitchers, and cast iron pieces that double as decor. And don't forget the vintage mixed match dishes and lace curtains in the kitchen is a must for that whimsy effect. For the Cottagecore style bedroom, think earthy, delicate, lived in, and cozy. You'll see layers of handmade quilts or crocheted blankets, soft floral bedding, or bedding with a bold print that has earthy tones, mixing and matching different pieces of vintage furniture, and also having a very eclectic color palette. Really anything that makes you feel like you're bringing the outdoors in. Dried florals are an easy way for this. Hanging up lace curtains are also so cottagecore and are a must in any of these rooms that I'm talking about, but specifically the bedroom because it gives that romantic, dreamy effect. Really, you're going for charming and whimsical here. If you crave calm, open spaces and decor that feels like a breath of fresh air, Coastal Cottage might be your dream style. This look is all about effortless beauty, relaxed, light-filled interiors that channel the serenity of life by the sea. Unlike nautical or beach-themed decor, Coastal Cottage takes a more elevated and natural approach. It's not about anchors and shells, it's about simplicity, texture, and soft, ocean-inspired colors that make you feel like you're on a cozy vacation. The The color palette is crisp and calming. Think whites, sandy beige, sea glass greens, soft driftwood grays, and misty blues. These hues create that breezy, peaceful vibe you find in coastal towns or summer cottages. You'll often see painted white floors or light-toned wood, sheer curtains, and lots of natural light bouncing around the space. Textural elements like rattan, wicker, jute, and weathered wood play a major role. Slip-covered furniture adds a relaxed charm, while raw or lightly finished woods give everything a naturally aged look. Scalloped trims, stripes, and ironstone pieces nod subtly to vintage charm without feeling overly vintage heavy. Coastal cottage decor is streamlined but not sterile. Every object serves a purpose, but the space still feels layered and cozy. The coastal cottage living room is often open and airy, with slip-covered sofas in white or flax, a rattan accent chair, and a jute rug surrounding the space. You might see vintage coastal artwork like watercolors of seaside towns or antique mirrors reflecting the light. Ironstone pictures, driftwood pieces, or sea glass accents help tie the color palettes all together throughout the space, really casting that serene vibe. The coastal cottage kitchen feels clean and functional, but still warm. Think breezy cafe curtains, natural wood cutting boards, and just a touch of coastal blue. Brass or matte black fixtures often provide contrast. A bowl of lemons, a vase of wild greenery really complete the look. If traditional cottage style feels a bit too busy for your taste or maximalist, but you still want warmth, texture, and charm, then modern cottage might be the perfect balance. This look is a contemporary take on cozy. It keeps the soul of cottage design but pares things down with fewer patterns, cleaner lines, and a curated minimalist approach. Think Studio McGee meets English countryside with just enough vintage mixed in to make it feel personal. It starts with a neutral color palette, warm whites, soft beiges, muted greens, and subtle grays. Matte black or brass accents add contrast, and you'll often see touches of olive or sage for a grounded, organic feel. Furniture is more streamlined than traditional cottage styles. Simple silhouettes, often slip-covered or with clean upholstery, anchor the space. You'll still find vintage pieces, but you won't see very many of them, and they'll be paired with modern elements, like contemporary lighting or smooth ceramic decor for a balanced mix. A modern cottage living room often features a clean-lined, slip-covered sofa, a minimal gallery wall, and curated open shelving. Lighting is crucial. A mix of table lamps, wall sconces, and warm light bulbs makes the room feel cozy and intentional. And don't forget a basket full of blankets, because we do want to make the space feel somewhat lived in. We don't want a sterile environment. We want something to feel like you can sit down, feel cozy, and can think. Modern cottage kitchens in this style are functional but warm. White or neutral cabinetry with matte black hardware, butcher block counters, and a few vintage finds like a wooden breadboard or a copper pot strike the perfect balance. Open shelves might display just a few favorite dishes or handmade ceramics. Modern cottage style gives you the cozy charm of traditional cottages but without the visual clutter. It's ideal for those who love vintage but also crave simplicity and clean lines. Every piece has a purpose, every room feels restful, and you still get to express your personality, just in a more refined, intentional way. If you're drawn to minimal decorating, warm, modern design, and timeless pieces with character, then modern cottage might be exactly your style. If you're drawn to ornate details, antique charm, and historic storytelling, Victorian Cottage might be your daydream aesthetic. This style blends the grandeur of 19th century design with the coziness of cottage living. Think velvet drapes, stained glass, carved wood, and lace curtains that feels personal and yet traditional. It pulls from Gilded Age interiors and the arts and crafts movement, featuring Morris-style wallpaper, warm wood tones, and collected treasures. And yes, if you collect anything with a Victorian house on it, like the Lennox Spice Village or antique souvenir plates, this is the perfect space for it. What sets Victorian Cottage apart? Well, Victorian Cottage is the most dramatic and decorative of all the cottage styles. While others lean breezy or rustic or feminine or chic, this one leans moody, layered, and emotionally expressive. It's about rich color, vintage maximalism, and telling a story through objects and wall decor. Expect jewel tones, dark florals, candlelight, and collections that feel curated over time, not styled overnight. Victorian Cottage color palettes have a no one-size-fits-all palette, which is part of the charm. Most Victorian Cottage homes fall into one of two different color directions: deep and moody, which would be burgundy, forest green, navy, antique gold, plum. These tones are perfect for fall and winter or anyone drawn to richer traditional interiors. And then we have faded Victorian pastels, and this is really what gives it more of that cottagey vibe. Think dusty rose, lavender, moss green, robin's egg blue, and soft cream. These lend a gentle, storybook touch to the style, ideal for all seasons. Victorian cottage-style living rooms are layered, nostalgic, and rich with historic charm. Picture a tufted settee or floral upholstered armchairs, a carved wood coffee table, and a gallery wall filled with vintage oil paintings, antique mirrors, and framed cameos. Lighting is soft and moody, achieved with candle sconces, fringed lampshades, or ornate antique table lamps. Look for romantic details like lace curtains, crocheted trimmed throws, and a floral needlepoint pillow. Display your collections proudly. Porcelain figurines, transferware, travel souvenirs, or a curated shelf of antique books. It's all about storytelling through objects and creating a space that feels both elegant and lived in. For the Victorian cottage kitchen, this one might feature a skirted sink, brass fixtures, and open shelving filled with ironstone and floral teacups. Tuck in some dried herbs, antique tins, or even a lace curtain for softness with this cottage style. It's for the romantics and the collectors, the maximalist, the daydreamers. It honors the past while making room for your present. It's dramatic, a little theatrical, and endlessly charming. Perfect for anyone who finds beauty in layered details and sentimental decor. So if you're drawn to historic homes or a vintage Victorian style, romantic vintage details, and decorating with a little drama and history, a Victorian cottage might be your perfect match. Victorian cottage style bedrooms are all about layered charm and timeless details. Think lace-trimmed curtains, vintage cameos hung about, vintage quilts, floral oil paintings, floral wallpaper, carved wood vintage furniture, thrifted vintage pieces of furniture that feel like they've been passed down generation after generation. Really, anything that adds that historic, lovely charm. This is where more of the French elements come into play and English cottage with the layered textures and patterns, as well as the cameos and the different types of artwork that you should hang up here, because Victorians loved covering their walls in art, as do I, and with any Victorian style, it is all about the details. So this is where you can display all of your favorite treasures from your travels, anything that really makes you feel like is a true representation of yourself. So you can go full on here. This is a super maximalist style, and I embody it wholeheartedly. So now that we've walked through the defining elements of each cottage style, I wanted to end with something a little special, a set of tips on how you can have an instant cottage style look. These are timeless decorating ideas that instantly infuse any space with cozy, collected charm, no matter your square footage, style mix, or budget. Whether you're just starting to decorate or you've been curating your home for years, these little touches bring that welcoming, lived-in cottage feel to life. First tip is hang plates on the walls or just display plates and pottery in general. This is one of the easiest ways to add character and color. Use mix-matched floral plates, scenic transferware, or even a curated set of vintage dessert plates. Try grouping them above a sofa, above a door, of course in your kitchen, or even in your bedroom. The result always feels personal and layered, like something you'd find in an old English or French countryside home. Use florals everywhere. Florals are at the heart of any cottage style. They show up in wallpaper, curtains, beddings, art, you name it. Fresh florals are also essential to any of these styles, and as an easy cottage style tip, arrange flowers in a pitcher, just an everyday pitcher that you have laying around the house. This instantly feels more casual and cozy. Use these for that touch of feminine in any space. Decorate with baskets. Baskets are cottage essentials. Perfect for function and display. Stack a few under an entry bench, hang a woven basket on the wall or a cluster of them, and you can put some dried flowers hanging next to them. Throw blankets, have somewhere to go in these baskets too. Baskets are always a staple for cottage style. Layer your textiles. Nothing says cottage style like a room layered in texture. Add vintage quilts to chairs, use ruffled tablecloths, drape lace runners, or add an old world throw over the end of a bed. Don't be afraid to mix patterns. Vintage florals, checkers, ticking stripes. The more collected it feels, the better. Add lace for softness. Hang sheer lace curtains for filtered light, use a lace trimmed pillow, or drape a lace tablecloth over a little nightstand. Doilies are also perfect for small tables. Even a little lace layered over wood or metal adds that delicate, romantic contrast that's signature to many cottage styles. Display oil paintings or prints of original artwork proudly. A moody floral still life, a pastoral landscape, or a tiny portrait in a chipped frame. Original art makes a space feel storied and collected. Don't worry about matching your frames. The more mismatched and layered, the more authentic it's going to feel. You can also print digital copies of art, and I have a special curated section on fablittleddish.shop with a ton of artwork that has taken me so long to acquire and collect. I found those images, resized them to perfection so that you can print them out at home. And I'm always adding to the prints that are on fablittleddish.shop. It's such an easy way to update any space on a budget, and it can completely transform the way your room looks. And if you just replace one piece of art, it can change the way your entire room looks. Trust me. This is super simple. You just purchase the file. It comes directly to your email, and then you can go to Walgreens or whatever your preferred places to print your pictures. I like to go to Walgreens. Rite Aid also has it. There's always lots of coupons. You can print poster sizes, anything. So I have digitally remastered these and made them so beautiful so that you can have your own art gallery at home. And when you purchase a digital art file, which are always on sale and a bargain, you will instantly get a 15% off coupon towards your next purchase on fablittleddish.shop, and that can include anything. So it's a win-win. It is all in the details. Add scallop trim to a shelf, replace cabinet knobs with vintage brass or porcelain ones, or even paint your switch plates to match the wall colors of the room. These are little things that take almost no time but have huge impact. It's the difference between a space that feels decorated and cluttered and one that just feels truly uniquely your own. Mixing old and new. Blending your antique market finds with newer pieces really give that clean, collected, lived-in look. This mix of eras and textures is what brings depth and authenticity to cottage interiors. It tells a story of styles, tastes, and collections throughout the years, including our present day. So those are the 8 universal tips on how you can attain any kind of cottage style in your own home today. And the great thing about these tips is that they can apply really to any style. As long as you find it a way to make your own and it makes your home feel like home, then that's all that matters. I hope this video gave you tons of inspiration to explore the cottage styles that really speak to you the most, or even mix a few of them together to create a home that feels truly personal, cozy, and collected. I hope you gained some tips to make that process so much easier through this video. Let me know in the comments which cottage style speaks to you the most, or the blend of cottage styles that you plan on incorporating into your own homes. I love hearing all of your thoughts, and your ideas and comments help to inspire me right back. And speaking of which, if any of these cottage styles really stood out to you and you want me to do a dedicated video honing in and focusing on a particular cottage style or multiple ones, please also let me know that in the comments, because I'm always wanting to create different videos that you are particularly interested in. So let me know and I will go. But if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. That helps get the video in front of other home decor lovers who can benefit from the same inspiration and ideas. And make sure to hit subscribe, because I have a new home decor inspiration coming your way each and every week. And happy cottage style decorating. I'll see you on the next one, my friends. Ciao.